We are we're not well into, we are officially starting genetics. You got a little preview last week, and we're going to be able to see the connection between genes, proteins, and overall what genetics actually means. I like how you guys are connecting this idea of protein with like our diet, right? It's important that we get protein in our diet to help us build muscle. Definitely. And now today, I think you're going to see the why part. Okay. I do have a video to help introduce us to genetics. And it is one of those, I forget what they're called. We'll see right now. I'm going to change how it's sharing with you though, so that we can see the whole screen. Okay. Feel free to take notes. And then afterwards, we're going to officially take notes together.
Stated Clearly presents What is DNA and how does it work? DNA, also known as deoxyribonucleic acid, is a molecule. It's a bunch of atoms stuck together. In the case of DNA, these atoms combine to form the shape of a long, spiraling ladder, sort of like this one here. If you ever studied biology or saw the movie Jurassic Park, you probably heard that DNA acts as a blueprint or a recipe for a living thing. But how? How on earth can a mere molecule act as a blueprint for something as complex and wonderful as a tree, a dog, or a dinosaur? To help answer that question, let's first take a quick look at amino acids. Amino acids are tiny little chemicals inside our bodies that are so important, they're often referred to as the building blocks of life.
So when you eat protein, whether it's from beans or plants, or most likely, most of you said mention meat, you are breaking down what you're eating into these amino acids. Okay. All right, here we go. Yes, I recommend you take notes. If you don't get something though, we're going to officially take notes afterwards. Okay.
There's about 20 different kinds, each with their own unique shape. The neat thing about them is they can be attached to each other kind of like Legos to produce an endless variety of larger particles known as proteins. Amino acids make up proteins. Proteins, along with other chemicals, combine to form living cells. Cells make up tissues. Tissues make up organs. And organs, when they're all put together and functioning, of course, combine to form living creatures like you and me. These proteins that make up our bodies, and keep in mind there's millions of different kinds of proteins, they each have to be formed in the perfect shape in order to function. If they're the wrong shape, they usually won't work. That's where DNA comes in. DNA does a lot of interesting things, some of which we don't fully understand, but one of its main and most well understood functions is to tell amino acids how to line up and form themselves the perfect protein shapes. In theory, if the right proteins are built at the right time and in the right place, everything else from cells to organs to entire creatures will come out just fine. This here is a simplified model of DNA. It shows us that the steps of the ladder are made up of 4 different kinds of chemicals shown here by different colors and letters. If you look at just one half of the molecule, you can read its chemical sequence or genetic code from top to bottom, sort of like a book. A single strand of DNA is extremely long, millions of letters long. It spends most of its life coiled up like a noodle, living inside the nucleus or the centerpiece of a cell. Amino acids, however, live outside the nucleus in what's called the cytoplasm. To help DNA interact with the cytoplasm and convert those amino acids into proteins, special chemicals inside the nucleus make partial copies of the DNA code. These partial copies, called RNA, look a lot like DNA, but they're shorter, of course, and they're missing one of their sides. Their small shape and size allows them to fit through tiny pores in the nucleus, out to the cytoplasm, and into the mouth of another particle called a ribosome. Ribosomes are protein-building machines. They read the RNA code 3 letters at a time, suck amino acids out of their surroundings, and stick them together in a chain according to the RNA code. As the chain grows, it bends, it folds, and it sticks to itself to form a perfectly shaped protein. Every 3 letters of the RNA code tell the ribosome which of the 20 different kinds of amino acids should be added next. For example, CAA tells the ribosome to grab a glutamine. AGU tells it to grab a serine, and so on. Once a protein is built, it can then go on to do a number of different things, one of which could be to help form a brand new cell. So to answer the original question, what is DNA? DNA is a molecular blueprint for a living thing. How does it work? DNA creates RNA, RNA creates protein, proteins go on to form life. This entire process, as complicated, as sophisticated, as magical as it might seem, is entirely based in chemistry. It can be studied, it can be understood. I'm John Perry, and that's DNA stated clearly.
All right, so now let's talk about this, right? This was a really big, broad overview. And so now what we're able to do is to look at it more detailed. We're not going to look at everything today, but we are going to touch upon pretty much everything that this guy mentioned sometime during this unit. So let's start here. So just a reminder, this is going to be, if you're going directly in your digital notebook, this is tab 5. We're in a new unit now called genetics, okay? Now, the first thing that they addressed with us was DNA. Any volunteers, did you catch any information about what DNA is, what it stands for, what it does, anything at all for this one here? Sahil.
I think it stands for diabonucleic acid,
Okay.
and it's basically the instructions or the blueprints to make proteins, which then go on to make everything else.
Okay. Bella?
DNA is a molecular blueprint for a living thing.
Thank you. Arman?
DNA mutations can cause evolution.
Okay. Good. He's linking other units together. All right. So first of all, make sure. So now we're taking notes, right? If you didn't get this, you're officially adding these to your notes. And first of all, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acids. And as mentioned by your peers, it is the blueprint, meaning it's the directions to making a living organism. Now, Sahil mentioned it tells what proteins are being made, right? And so those proteins are made up of amino acids. So it does determine the order of amino acids. Okay. Now, I got my degree in biochemistry. In my biochemistry class, I had to memorize all 20 essential amino acids, but not only their names, but their chemical structures. And then I also had to memorize some key orders. They are, each 3 bases correspond to specific amino acids, and that's how they talk to each other. It's like a different language. So we have the DNA language, the bases, the 4 bases, and you and I are going to get into DNA a little bit more detailed next time, Thursday, I see you. And then that's able to translate into these amino acid language, which is what makes our proteins. Okay, so I kind of already answered this question. So what are amino acids? Well, these are the building blocks of proteins here. Okay. Questions on this?
I just had a quick question. You're going to upload these later, so we can take the notes later because and just pay attention right now.
Sure. All of these slides will be released after 5th period today. Okay. All right, go faster or go slower? Okay. So I straight stole the image from the video. Huh. Right? Now, if I were sitting where you're at, I wouldn't worry about drawing everything, but I would definitely put the words, right? So amino acids are put together to make proteins. And then when we get a bunch of proteins together, that makes cells. My Chromebook is acting really weird. And if you get a bunch of cells together, then you're going to create tissues. You know what? Let me shut this puppy down. And then when you have a bunch of tissues together, you're going to create organs. Now, once you have a bunch of organs together, you have an organism. All right? You see how that goes? Organs create organisms. All right. So, as mentioned, if the DNA changes at all, it's going to tell us a different amino acid order. It's going to change the protein that's made, causing mutations. Okay. So if we look at this visual right here, today we're going to finish that cells worksheet. And we're going to get into more detail of what all the different organelles are in a plant and an animal cell. But the most important part that we're looking at in genetics really is that nucleus, because inside that nucleus, we have what are called chromosomes. Now, a chromosome is just a bunch of DNA all smushed together, okay? I have a little visual. And I'm sorry if you're watching on the video, you can't see me, but Mr. Trombetti and I are playing with the idea of maybe making this an extra credit opportunity for you. In class, you would all make one 3-dimensional molecule of DNA, okay? It's kind of a fun project. It's kind of like origami and arts and crafts. Okay. And so you each put one of these together. And then in class, what we would do is tape them end on end. So I literally have enough DNA. I've actually collected for a few years now. I have enough DNA to like decorate my room all the way around. It's kind of fun. And then you guys would add more and more and more and more DNA. Okay. Now, a chromosome is a bunch of DNA like this, but all squished together, completely folded and rolled around and woo, woo, there's a chromosome. Okay. A bunch of DNA pushed together. Now, in order for us to make proteins, there's enzymes or other proteins. Proteins rule the world, okay, just so you know. We have to open this up a little bit and be able to read just the code a little bit. Now, if let's say this piece I removed, let's say this makes protein for your liver, okay? This one section, just a piece of your DNA is a gene, just a piece of the DNA. So a whole bunch of DNA is called a chromosome. All of your cells have 23 pairs of chromosomes, a bunch of DNA. But if I take out just a little piece, that's say a liver cell, that's a gene. One gene is a piece. Now, sometimes that DNA sequence can be disturbed. So, and that might disturb that protein. So maybe now instead of making this protein for my liver, now it's different. And it's actually going to be essential for my kidney. But I need liver cells, not kidney cells. Uh-oh. Okay. These are called mutations. Now, we're going to get into more detail with mutations next week. But I just want to sort of plant the seed. If that sequence, if any of this messes up somehow, you have what's called a mutation. Now, some mutations are harmful. Some don't affect it at all. Some could even be beneficial for the organism. But any change in the DNA is called a mutation. Okay. Yeah. Not necessarily, Sahil. You have, let me look that up, Sahil. I don't want to say yes or no right now. Question is, so do the 23 chromosomes in your cells, 23 pairs of chromosomes, you actually have 46 chromosomes in your cells. Are they the information for the whole human? Right off the bat, I'm going to say no. I think they each have specific purposes. Like we need all 46 chromosomes to make a full human. Okay. So I think if you're missing some chromosomes or have extra chromosomes, there are deficiencies. So we definitely, I'm going to say no, but I'm going to officially look it up. Because that number of 23 pairs is essential for a healthy human being. Okay. All right. So now we're going to take our break. Okay. Every cell, every other than your gametes. So we're going to talk about your gametes or your sex cells another time. They have half of that genetic information. Okay. All right. Let's take our break. Go get up, get a snack. And then when we get back, we're going to get into those cells. Okay. Thank you, Angelica. Oops, I didn't pause the video. That's okay. Thank you, Marcus. So Sahil brought up a great question. And Sahil, the same question you're asking right now, I asked my college professor in my first biology course. How do they know what to do? It's pretty amazing, right? So there's a lot of things that go into play. A lot of things where errors can be made. And so it's definitely a delicate communication system from your brain to all of the different chemicals in your body to the cells themselves. All right, so come on back. Camera's back on. I have one more slide to go over of notes with you. Thank you, Drew. And then we're going to finish that worksheet. So if we look at this little visual here, we see a cell, and inside the cell is the nucleus. And inside the nucleus, again, as mentioned, you have 20, as if this was a human cell, you have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Different organisms have different numbers of chromosomes. We have 23 pairs, 46 total. And then each chromosome, again, is a bunch of DNA put together. And if we just zoom in on one part of the DNA, we're looking at a gene, okay? So it's a recap. Now, again, cells, as you know, are the building blocks of all living organisms. And so we are now officially writing this in our notes if it's not already there. Again, there's a nucleus, and inside the nucleus are the chromosomes. The chromosomes are made up of DNA, and just a small segment of DNA is what a gene is, okay? And genes are what get passed on from parent to offspring, your genes. Okay, so what we're going to do, we have a series of questions on our cell worksheet. And again, there's more than just a nucleus in the cell. There's a lot of other organelles in here. And what you're going to notice is a majority of them aid or help making those proteins. Proteins are essential to life, okay? If you get a high fever, we want to control, if it gets way too high, we want to bring it down. The reason why is because you're literally cooking your proteins, okay? Now, once you cook your protein, it's like cooking an egg. You can't go back, right? Once it's cooked, it's cooked. And we can do some permanent damage to some of your essential organs. So that's why a very high fever, anything above 104, we definitely want to intervene and cool you off as soon as possible. If you have a slight fever though, 101, 102, it's uncomfortable, but you have a fever for a reason. There's some kind of invader in your body that it's trying to fight off. You need to let your body fight it off. But if it gets to 104, that's when we need to jump in so you don't cook your proteins, okay? All right, questions on any of this stuff? Go faster or go slower? I was just killing time with that cooking your proteins comment. Okay, the few of you who are telling me. Yes, Armand.
Why does the body want to kill proteins?
It doesn't want to kill proteins. It wants to kill any invader it has. So let's say you get a common cold, right? Let's say you contract a virus. your body is going to try to fight off that virus, and it has different antibodies. It has, right, those helper T cells, it has lysosomes, it has different things that are going to be able to attack it. Now, if those don't work, your body's second defense is to increase the temperature, to increase blood flow to that area, to send more attacks, and that's going to just aid in hopefully for you to win the war, right? For you to flood all those different other antibodies to that area. Now, your body doesn't want to cook your proteins, but it's sometimes the fever gets out of hand where it's trying to now kill this invader, and in the process could do damage to the tissues as well. So that's where we have to intervene if that happens. Okay. Others. Okay. So we're going to go into breakout rooms, and we're only going to be in there for 10 minutes. And what you're going to do in these breakout rooms is you're going to answer 2 questions together. I'm going to set up 9 teams, and I want you to notice on your worksheet, the number that you're going to do is not the blue numbers. So ignore the blue numbers. And I tried to put on the actual question. Oh, wait, I think this is the old one. Oops, something went wrong. Okay, so hopefully this comes back. Let's edit. Let's look at it this way. Okay, here, okay. So in the actual question, I put the number. So the number that you have on the actual worksheet, the black number, that's what you're going to be doing, not the blue number, okay? And the question you are responsible for is the same breakout room you have. So you're gonna have one question on the plant side, and then that same question on the animal cell side, okay? So it takes about 10 minutes. Some of you will be done sooner. When you're done, come back to the main room, and then we will help teach each other. You'll get this whole worksheet done in class, fingers crossed. Okay, so I'm going to set up these breakout rooms. We're going to have 9 groups total. Some of you will have 3 people, some of you will have 4. And you're going to, I want to remind you, because some of my students last period forgot that your mic, I'm going to make this, I want your mic on. I'm going to change this. If you don't have your camera on, no big deal, but you must have your mic on so that you can talk to each other, okay? Let me just double check these teams real quick. And we should be okay, except, oh, I'm not in this room. Okay, so questions for me. I also want to point out that I added a little blurb here. So the breakout room you are in, you're going to answer that number on both the animal. So you only have 2 questions you're responsible for, and then come back to the main room. Okay. All right, you guys, mics must be on. I'm going to add this right here. Bold here. Your mic must be on. If you don't want your camera on, I'm okay with that, but you have to talk to each other. Okay. All right, here you go. 10 minutes. Have fun. You guys are done?
Yeah.
Cool. We have 4 minutes. So if you didn't finish coloring, then you can do that now. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pause recording. What we're going to do now is go through all the questions together. I'm going to give you guys opportunity to share, get some participation points. We have 15 minutes left in class. We will get through most of the questions, maybe all of them. So this whole entire worksheet is due tonight by 8 o'clock. So I don't know about you, but if I were you, I would be sitting here answering my worksheet at the same time. You can get your homework done in class right now. Thank you, Randy. Okay, so let's start off with number 1. Oops, the Golgi apparatus. Any volunteers? Describe the function of the Golgi apparatus. Now, you might not have the exact same thing I have down. That's okay. All right, let's spread the wealth. Let's start with Abigail.
The Golgi apparatus is responsible for transporting, modifying, and packaging proteins.
All right, thank you. So due to time, I'm probably just going to go one person per question. Okay, so yes, so it transports, modifies, and packages proteins. It also does it to lipids. And I think I could delete that part, make it easier. All right. So the Golgi apparatus is what's going to deliver those proteins to those spots. Okay. Now, if what you have down is not word for word what I have, that's okay. All right, I'm going to lower your hands because I'm going to ask now for the vacuum. Describe the function of a vacuum. And again, I'm going to spread out the points here. So don't take offense if I don't call on you. All right, Natalie?
It maintains the water balance.
Okay, so a vacuole maintains water balance. Thank you, Drew. Let me lower the hands real quick. Okay. Oh, there you go. And then what about chloroplast? So
It helps
go ahead, Angelica.
helps convert energy from the sun into food for the plant.
Okay, good. So she went more detailed, which is perfectly fine. Do not change your answer, right? They conduct photosynthesis. So they take that sun energy and make it into sugar for the plant. Good. All right. I know it's kind of hard for you to go back and forth if you have multiple tabs. So let me know when you're ready. Go faster, go slower. And let me see your progress. You should have by now 1 through 4 filled out. So Hope, make sure you fill out the Go Formative. Faith, Drew, Izzy, these are the answers for numbers. Oh, sorry, this is 3, 4, 5 on the formative, right? Because number 2 is coloring. So Hope, Faith, Drew, Izzy, Brianna, make sure you fill in numbers 3 and 4 as well. Okay, there we go. So you're filling in the formative at the same time. We're not just sitting here doing who knows what. Okay. Okay. Go faster or go slower. All right. These slides will also be released to you after fifth period. Okay, so if I go too fast for you, it's here. All right, next is the nucleolus. Describing the function of the nucleolus. All right, Garika.
The nucleolus controls the activity of the cell.
Okay, so the nucleolus, good, is it's inside the nucleus, right? It's going to be the dark organelle in the nucleus, and it not only controls the cell, but it also produces and assembles the cell's ribosomes. Oh, darn it. Samuel, what were you going to say?
Well, I was raising it for number 5.
Number 5, perfect. Go ahead, Samuel. Cytoplasm.
But I had a question. And so the nucleolus also produces the RNA?
That's where it's going to be made. It's inside the nucleolus. Yes.
The RNA.
The RNA.
So it produces the factory that makes the proteins, and then it also produces instructions.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. Samuel, cytoplasm.
The cytoplasm is responsible for holding the components of the cell and protects them from damage.
Okay, good. Good. It's for protection. Good. Anybody else can add on there? No. Okay. Mine's a little bit long, so I apologize. I'm trying to see how I can make it shorter. So it's fluid, and this fluid fills up the cell. So it's holding, giving it shape, and it's holding all the organelles in its spot. It's kind of like, think of it like Jell-O. If you ever seen like a Jell-O mold, right? Everything's like kind of stuck in there. Cytoplasm makes it stick there. It also is where a lot of these chemical reactions are going to occur. So we talk about, right, breakdown of energy, any kind of usage of minerals, vitamins, any kind of chemical reaction that's needed, it's going to happen in the cytoplasm. Okay. All right. What are 2 things found in a plant cell that are not found in an animal cell? Okay, let's see. Audie?
One is chloroplast and I think the other one's a cell wall.
Okay, very good. So chloroplast and cell wall. It's fun to see you guys all writing on the formative. Good. I'm doing your homework for you, so take advantage of it. Don't just sit here and do whatever it is on your phone. Put the phone down and get your homework done. I'm doing your homework for you, okay? There we go. All right, any questions on these? Okay, go faster or go slower. All right, we have 6 more minutes. We'll for sure finish the plant side. So what is this? Actually, I'm going to give this to, I'll give you a chance. The structure of the cell wall. I don't like how they worded this question. That's why I was going to skip it. Matthew?
The cell wall is made up of 3 layers, which is called the primary cell wall, the middle lamella, and the secondary cell wall.
Okay, good. That's more detailed than I gave. Do not change your answer. That'll work. Okay, so it's rigid though. Matthew mentioned it has 3 layers. It's very thick. It's rigid and it's rectangular in structure. Okay. Now they want to know, how does a structure support its function? Anybody do number 8? Go ahead, Sahil.
I didn't do this question, but I also did cells in 6th grade.
Okay.
So I think the cell wall was supposed to protect the cell, and then it was also supposed to create bark, and then tubes, xylem and phylum. So the rigidity of it makes it so it can support the tree, so it doesn't fall over and all that.
Okay, so it allows them to stack onto each other, giving it strength to the plant, right? The plant doesn't have a skeleton like you and I. We have a bony structure that's helping us support us. Plants don't have that. So it needs a very strong, sturdy, think of them like bricks. The cells of the plant cell are like bricks on top of each other, making it have that support to grow and extend out, because it doesn't have a bony skeleton like you and I. Okay. All right. And then the vacuole, what's its function? How does the size affect it? All right. I should have let Abigail do the last one. Sorry, Abigail. Sahil?
Didn't we already do this one?
Sort of.
The vacuole
Yeah, what's its function?
to maintain the water balance?
Okay, more specifically though.
Oh, I'm not sure then. I thought
Okay.
we were just...
So you're right. It maintains the water balance, but it's more like a storage, right? So it's going to store the water and it's going to take up a lot of space in that cell. A mass majority of the space of a plant cell is taken up by the vacuole. Think of it like it's water storage. Okay. So Randy, Faith, Izzy, we should be answering these questions on our formative. Rihan, keep up with us. Okay. We only have a couple minutes left. We'll get into the animal cells a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and, oops. Do this. Nope. Okay. So now we have the animal cell. And in the animal cell, they started off with the cell membrane. Due to time, I'm just going to, it depends on the actual, all cells are a little bit different, but they say a majority of the space. So anywhere between 50 to probably 80% of the space is taken up by the vacuole. Okay, so I'm just going to go through here quickly. Cell membrane, right? It protects the cell. The endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER. This, again, notice a lot of them deal with proteins. This is going to produce, fold, modify proteins. And then your lysosome, which is only found in animal cells, not plant cells, breaks down excess or worn out cell parts. Okay, so we have covered, there's 2 more slides left. I will release these slides to you after 5th period. If you want to hang out and go through the last 2 slides with me, I don't mind. That's okay with me. I'll get ready for 6th period. Wait, 5th period. Otherwise, if you don't have any questions, remember you need to complete this entire worksheet by 8 o'clock tonight. This worksheet, 100% done, is due by 8 o'clock tonight. Okay? All right, if you don't have any questions, then you have a good day. Otherwise, I'm gonna just scroll through here a little bit slower, okay? All right, you guys, have a good day. Let me copy and paste this. And then go here. All right, so then it's the mitochondria, the nucleus, and then ribosome. Again, you guys have been imprinted on your brain forever. The powerhouse of the cell. Yep, you guys, that's the first thing that usually comes out of your mouth is that one. That's why I included it. Hopefully it jogs some memories. Okay. Again, the nucleus though is the home for the DNA, controls and regulates the activities of the cell. Notice the nucleus and the nucleolus are similar. They're in the similar location. Yes, Sahil.
What's the difference between RNA and mRNA? Or is it the same thing?
They're very similar, just its job. mRNA is called messenger RNA, and it's like it's what the ribosome is going to read. So it's sending the message of DNA to the ribosome so it can make the protein. Yes, Armand.
How does so much DNA fit in a single cell?
Pretty amazing, right? And DNA is the largest biochemical known to man, and it's able to squeeze into that nucleus. So in that nucleus, there's not a lot of space, right? It is filled to the rim of DNA. And that DNA is so humongous, it can't leave the nucleus, it's stuck. It's stuck inside of the nucleus, and that's why it needs to make RNA strands that are much smaller, and they're only a single ladder. It's able to leave the nucleus a lot easier than the double helix. So how? By perfect design. This is the, right? It's really amazing. It's very miraculous how everything talks to each other just perfectly for everything to function.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Bye, Mrs. King.
Bye. All right, Audie, Drew, are you good?